I've been on my infertility journey for almost 4 years now, and I wanted to take you through the entire IUI process from start to finish in any given month. So this is just my experience, but hopefully it will provide you with a general idea and a broad overview of what you can expect. IUIs typically happen after you've done all your baseline tests and you've even maybe done some medicated cycles. They're gonna be the last step before you move on to IVF. And if you've ever heard people joke about turkey basters, this is pretty much what it is. So let's look at some anatomy here. So whereas if you had no intervention at all, just a normal month trying to conceive, sperm would be inserted right here. Now with an IUI, it allows it to be inserted here, making it closer to your fallopian tubes to meet the egg. So it helps it get a little bit of a head start. Now what's interesting that I learned from my doctor is that a normal fertile couple has about a 20 to 25% chance of conceiving in a given month. But most infertile couples have less than 5% chance of conceiving on their own in any given month. So if you add in the IUI, that success rate from 5% increases to about 10 to 15%. So it's not a huge jump. It's really still a very low chance, but doctors are really trying to just put you close to that normal level of success. And what exactly does this process look like? I want to go day by day and bring you along for a cycle of IUI. So we're going to start with day 1, which would be the first day you start your menstrual cycle, and this process is going to carry out until either A, you're pregnant, or B, you start your next cycle.
Hi, I was just calling to get my prescription refilled. I just started my cycle, so I was planning to do another IUI this month. Yes. All right, got my prescription called in and my next appointment scheduled.
Time to take medication like Clomid or Letrozole. I took Letrozole, which is a breast cancer hormone therapy medication that is going to reduce your estrogen. So for fertility, it can be used to induce ovulation in women who don't ovulate or to produce multiple eggs in women who already ovulate on their own. So I already ovulated, so this was just going to try to help my eggs along a little more, and it's terrible. And I hated this. This was the worst part of the IUI for me. So I had extreme mood swings, like raging. Not everyone gets side effects, but for me, it was bad. Hey, random question. What are your thoughts on Letrozole?
Stuff is awful.
Now it's time to go in for an ultrasound before you ovulate. So it's important for your doctors or nurses to keep track of your follicles, making sure you don't have too many, as that also increases your risk of multiples. And so they'll measure your follicles to see how many are mature and will likely release an egg. My doctor liked to see them measure between 18 and 22 millimeters. So most months I only had 1 mature and maybe 1 or 2 smaller eggs. So any month that did have 2 mature eggs meant a higher chance of twins. So at this point in time, it's also possible that your IUI gets canceled if you don't have the response that they want for the medicine or mature follicles, or maybe you have too many. But fortunately, this never happened to me. So depending on what your follicles are measuring, they will determine how long you should wait before administering a trigger shot. Now a trigger shot is exactly how it sounds. It's gonna trigger your ovulation, typically between 24 to 48 hours and usually around the 36-hour mark right after you do the shot. So you usually have to do this at home, but it's a small needle, just a little bit of a thick consistency going in. We've had a few laughs over ours. Straight.
It doesn't want to go in. Oh, there we go.
You scared the crap out of me.
I don't want to press too hard. I don't want to press too hard. I don't want to go in.
Oh, I thought you were like already almost done when you said that.
And I didn't have a ton of side effects from this outside of some bloating and ovulation pain, but once I had actually ovulated, I felt fine. Now time to go in for your actual IUI. So prior to this, they typically want you to abstain from intercourse for 2 to 5 days because it's finally time for your partner to participate in this process. So on the same day as your procedure, they're gonna take a sperm sample and wash the sperm. So this is gonna get rid of all the fluid around it and just kind of get the best swimmers, is what they phrase it as, and they're gonna put that into a catheter. So that process in itself takes about an hour, and then once they're done with all their washing, then they get you ready and it's time for the procedure. So in the whole span of time, you're probably in the office for about an hour and a half. And I was actually surprised by this, but my doctor didn't do the procedure. It's our nurse who did it every single time, and our nurse is great. She's super sweet. But you'll have one nurse who has an ultrasound on your pelvis so they can see what you're doing, and the other one's gonna perform the procedure. So they use a speculum, just like they do with a pap smear, and they insert the small catheter up to your uterus.
You may not see it. Yep, see it up top at the top of the uterus there? So that means she got through. That flash of white, that's all the sperm.
All right, do your thing, sperm.
So our catheter's out and you can still see the sperm right there at the top of the uterus. Doing their thing. Yeah.
We got in there.
All right. Good job.
And who likes a speculum? Nobody likes a speculum. It's just uncomfortable. But the only thing I really felt was cramping as the catheter passes from your cervix into your uterus. And it's really just like a blimp of a second. If you take some Tylenol before, it does help. But I only remembered like 1 month and the rest I was fine. So it's like instant cramping and then gone as soon as they're done. So from walking into the room until you're done, it only takes you about 15 minutes. I swear I actually had one IUI that literally the nurse was so fast, it took her like 2 minutes, but sometimes they have trouble getting like the catheter up into your uterus. So it could take a few minutes, but nothing crazy, nothing uncomfortable. You've likely done an HSG procedure to get started on your IUI, and I thought that was terrible compared to this. Now it's time for blood work to make sure you ovulated. I'll be honest, I skipped this step because of number 1, the extra cost, and number 2, I live a bit further away from my doctor's office, so they left it up to me if I wanted to go or not. So I did this the very first cycle and my blood work was good. They confirmed I ovulated, so I was personally comfortable skipping this step every other time. Now, it's important to wait the full 2 weeks as the trigger shot can still be in your system and this does cause a false positive. So the only other alternative is to test every day until you see that trigger shot is out of your system. You get a negative test and keep testing and hopefully it turns positive again. I think I'm about to get a positive pregnancy test. It's definitely positive, but I'm not pregnant. I had a trigger shot yesterday that triggers ovulation, but also mimics pregnancy symptoms by increasing the HCG in your body. So I actually have to wait until this is negative before hopefully it'll be positive. They tell you this could happen for up to 2 weeks after, so I wanted to test it. But this is also the only positive pregnancy test I've had in over 3 years. Did you know this could happen? So the 2-week wait is over and it's time for a pregnancy test if you haven't started your period by then. And by this point, it should be fairly reliable.
This morning was time to take my 14-day test and it's negative. I can hopefully wait and there's a chance I don't start my period. But at this point, I would say probably not super likely.
Unfortunately, my period was quite a few days late after 2 of my IUIs, so it's definitely easy to get your hopes up, but I just started late and this could be from the trigger shot as well. Unfortunately, as you might be able to tell, IUIs didn't work for us. We did 3 cycles, which is kind of like the recommended amount before considering other options like IVF. And typically, if you don't have success after 6 IUI cycles, the chances after that are pretty low. And cost also played into our decision of just doing 3 cycles. So my insurance is absolutely terrible and infertility in general is not covered in most cases, but I did have actually a lifetime maximum of 3 IUIs that my insurance will cover. And I say cover because if you know anything, they don't cover the whole thing. So my insurance doesn't cover IVF, but they did cover a little bit of my cycle. It still came out to be about $600 for one IUI cycle, but the typical cost can actually be around $1,000 without insurance, so I do feel like I saved a little bit, but not enough, and I don't feel like the chance of success is that good to keep doing multiple cycles. We kind of agreed from the beginning we would do the 3 that was covered. And the cost broke down like this. So the Letrozole medicine, aka angry pills, were $2. Overdrel, the trigger shot, was $90. The ultrasound was $128, and the IUI procedure itself with the sperm washing was $405. So for each of those, my insurance did pick up some of the costs, but clearly not the whole thing. So it came out to around $600. And I will say, for so long, we thought 3 IUIs would kind of be the end of our journey, and we weren't sure about IVF. And I had more hope for them. I really went into this on IUI number 1 that it was going to work, and by IUI number 3, I was like, yeah, I definitely don't think this is gonna work. But for the price comparison versus IVF, I do think it's worth doing a couple times. I don't think I would go up to 6 tries, but I do know people in my own personal life who have had success with IUIs, and it's definitely there. It's definitely a time-consuming and hard process. As you can see, you're going back and forth into the doctor's office many times. So you could kind of forget trying to plan travel or holidays, like both of those things set us back a couple months. So everything really does just take time. So if you're going through this or planning to go through this, I truly do feel for you. And I hope this video was easy to follow along and informative and just gave you a better look at what you can expect, because I don't know about anybody else, but my doctor's office, I have to be very proactive to get information, to find a timeline, and I'm someone who loves schedules. So that's part of the reason I wanted to make this video. So if you made it to the end, thank you so much for watching. I hope to do more videos like this about infertility in the future, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.